Hello and welcome to the 91st episode of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Patrick Knisley.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, we got a very special guest on the episode tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Green has joined us on the show. Hey, Tommy, welcome back.
Hey. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. I think we had you on before for the Marvel episode, and now we've got you on for a Zelda episode. Very exciting indeed.
That's right. Tommy is here to talk with us about The Legend of Zelda Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, the new Zelda game mashed up with Warriors. We'll get all into that later. We're going to talk about a lot of great news. The Game Award nominations came out. A new game got announced for one of David's favorite series, Picross. Some other game announcements and stuff. And then a lot of... I don't know how to put this, bad Nintendo news, where we're going to talk about Nintendo's bad decisions, I feel like, and anti-consumer stuff and stuff like that.
Nintendo, please send us game codes.
Yeah, after we shit on you. But deservedly, they deserve it. There's some bad stuff.
Hey, no one's perfect.
Send us free codes.
No mega corporation's perfect. But yeah, how's everybody doing? How we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a very chill week. I've had the last 4 days off, so
Oh, nice.
it's been quite nice.
You got a lot of Age of Calamity time in then.
Tons shit.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I've not been off, but it's been chiller, right? A lot of my office is out. So it's like, it's not 100% all the time at work, which is kind of nice for once.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing okay. Been playing a healthy amount of games, and we'll talk about it at the end. But been watching a lot of fun TV as well, so I'm excited to talk all about that.
How about you, Tommy? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's been an interesting year, to say the least, but
Yeah.
been getting plenty of games in because of that. So
Yeah, right?
an unhealthy amount, probably.
Yeah,
Counter
when David said healthy, I wondered what that was.
I just mean whenever I'm eating, I'm also just eating handfuls of spinach. Whenever I'm playing,
Right.
I'm eating handfuls of spinach. I'll figure out a way to splice that together.
Well, last week we talked about next gen gaming and the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X Pipe S, and that sparked a nice discussion on our Discord about the appearance of consoles, where a bunch of people, and forgive me if I'm not mentioning you, but Cena, Summer, Jay, Kyle, Amir, Robert Segovia, a bunch of us talked about the aesthetics of the boxes that we play games on.
That was a super fun thread, by the way.
Yeah.
I kept going back to that.
Yeah, I think we landed in like two camps. People that like the aesthetic of a console when it blends in with the rest of the entertainment center and everything else.
I think we'll talk about this later because it's in the news, but the Super Famicom was nominated as one of the sleeker, prettier consoles.
I love how the Famicom
agreement.
looks. Yeah. It's got like a bit of a toy look, which I think is cool. And then I also love how the controllers slot into the side of the system. They're just kind of built in. I always wondered why more consoles never did that. They always had like kind of detachable controllers after that. And I always thought it was a pretty cool idea to just kind of have it built in.
Well, we'd love to hear from you, listener. If you have any comments about anything you hear us talk about, we'd love to hear your thoughts on them. And we also appreciate it when you give us reviews or share our podcast somewhere. So do that, please. And we'll get into the news and rumors for the week. One of the big gaming news things this week was the Game Awards nominees were announced. And it's a lot of the same games in all the categories.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll just talk real quickly about Game of the Year, and then a lot of these games are in other categories. I'll list them off real quick. Game of the Year nominees are Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghosts of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing New Horizons, The Last of Us Part 2.
Give it to Animal Crossing and watch the world burn.
Yeah.
Predictions for best game. What do you think out of that?
I mean, you're joking about how I think the world would go crazy if Animal Crossing won, but I think there is a much greater than non-zero chance that Animal Crossing will win Game of the Year. And I think that there is an argument to be made for it, like, by far to win Game of the Year, right? It just kind of depends on what the metric is, I think.
Right.
Because it's like, this is a once in a lifetime worldwide event that we're going through, and within that, Animal Crossing was a once in a lifetime like game release that lined up at the perfect time. It was almost like it was, holy matrimony, COVID and Animal Crossing. So it's like, I could definitely see it being taken away. It wasn't my personal Game of the Year, but I know a lot of fucking people are still playing that game.
Yeah. I hear good things about Ghost of Tsushima. I think that's the logical pick for winner, just from what I've heard from everyone saying how good it is, but I could see Animal Crossing winning.
Matt, you've probably played the lion's share of these games. Out of these, what would you pick? Or what would you want to win?
I want Hades to win. I think I
don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
I think it could happen.
I think it's possible. I would want Hades, then Animal Crossing, then Ghosts. I think there's one game that doesn't deserve to be on this list, and that's Final Fantasy VII Remake, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The game's not done, right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's like
it doesn't say part 1, but it should.
It should have been nominated in the first half of the game category.
Yeah.
I say half with a question mark because who fucking knows how many of those there will be. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Last of Us Part 2 is like the one that's probably going to win, right? That was like last year, everybody was like, oh, Death Stranding is probably going to win. But then there was an upset, right? It ended up going to Sekiro last year. So I feel like my money is on Hades being the upset this year and taking it. But then I'm not counting Animal Crossing out. But I think everybody thinks Last of Us Part 2 is going to win. But I think it might be one of those two, honestly. But
it's tough. Like I said, a lot of these games are nominated for lots of different things, and I don't know if this is true or not in awards, but I feel like sometimes it feels this way that certain things won't win one thing, but they'll win another thing.
Right.
That kind of feels like it. So,
well, 3 of them are exclusives, right? So they're more likely to probably get all of the votes of that specific console versus like a game that has 3 consoles that it's on.
That's true.
I don't know. It's just kind of what I think.
Yeah.
So I could see like Animal Crossing or Last of Us.
It's nice to see, even though Hades is like an indie game and third party, it's nice to see 2 Nintendo console exclusives in the best of the year list, right? Because Hades is on PC, but it's not on any other consoles right now.
That's a good point.
I think that's pretty fucking cool. And I think that's where most people are playing Hades also, is on Switch. So it's just cool to see Nintendo get some love in that way, just outside of the family category, which they always sweep. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's cool to see the representation.
Though they might not this year. That's an interesting one, I think, because for family, which, like you said, they always get, I think there's a chance that Fall Guys, or I don't know. I don't think Crash 4 is going to win it.
No.
But I would say Fall Guys has a chance. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't think of family when I think of Fall Guys. I think of like swearing Twitch streamers.
I was thinking the same thing.
I think of like,
angry people.
Yeah. I think people like smoke a fat bowl and then decide they want to stream on Twitch for a couple hours and play Fall Guys.
That said, I think Animal Crossing will probably win family.
It's got to. It's got to.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of other things we could talk about. One of the things I did want to mention is that they have a new category this year, which I'm in favor of more new categories. Like we've talked about, and David, you said this, I think like they should have best speedrunner, and they should have all kinds of stuff like around gaming that they don't, but they did add an accessibility category for like games that, do things to make games more accessible. And so that's really cool. Innovation and accessibility is what they're calling it.
That's awesome. So. Yeah, anything to give developers more incentive to put accessibility in their games. They win an award for it. That's great. That's a great incentive.
Yeah.
I will say, keep an ear out on the Switch Headz Facebook group and on our Discord. We are probably going to be doing a watch party sort of online event to watch the Game Awards. So if you're interested in that, make sure you keep an eye on our socials and our Discord group and our Facebook group.
Absolutely. And then Picross S5 was announced. I think it's Jupiter that makes these games, right, David?
Oh yeah, Jupiter's been making these games since the Super Nintendo or the Game Boy. They like made the original Picross games.
And this is coming out on the 26th, so right after this podcast comes out. You excited about this, or do you have plenty left in your old Picross games, or does it matter?
Oh, I have plenty left in my old Picross games, but that doesn't mean I'm not excited for this. Like, I've finished most of the Picross puzzles in S4, and then I've got a couple like Mega Picross ones, and then like the big clip Picross one. So I really shouldn't be buying this game, but I will be buying this game and playing it at midnight or whenever it drops, because I just love the progression of a Picross game. You know what I mean? Because it's so fun at the beginning playing a bunch of puzzles that you beat in like 20 seconds. And then, you know, them getting gradually harder and harder and bigger. That's a big part of the fun, is like actually playing through the game. That's why I really enjoyed playing Mario's Picross on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online on my Switch. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. Never been a better time to get into Picross, folks.
There you go. Partly because I don't know if they always do this, but there's a sale on Picross games right now.
That's right.
20% off, I think. So
yeah, and you don't have to get S5. You can get literally any of them, and they're all good. Yeah. Although I'd say start with 3, maybe. Fully featured.
And I don't know that anybody here is going to be too excited about this, but Persona 5 Scramble, there's been some question about whether or not this is going to come west. And it sounds like a bunch of Asian retailers in particular have listed the English version of this game for a February 23rd, 2021 release. So if you're out there and this game was on your radar, I think there's been a lot of question about whether it's going to get localized and that sort of thing. But seems quite possible now with a number of retailers putting that same date up. So
totally, yeah. I mean, if you've been playing Age of Calamity and you're finding yourself really enticed by the gameplay, that's Persona 5 Scramble for you right there. That's another Koei Tecmo game taking another beloved franchise and putting their spin on it. And I've heard it's great.
Another RPG that was announced. I guess Persona 5 Scramble isn't really an RPG, but sort of related.
I've heard it's more RPG than people were expecting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was trying to make this transition work, and I flubbed it.
I think you've done a great. I think you've done a great job, Patrick.
Square Enix announced a new The World Ends With You game. It's not a game I've ever played. Anybody here ever played the original The World Ends With You?
I played a bit of it on the DS. Yeah.
Summer 2021, Neo The World Ends With You is coming out to PS4 and Switch. So I know there's a lot of people that liked the original that are excited about that. And they did a funny countdown thing where, I don't know if y'all saw this. It was kind of funny because like they had a website that was counting down and nobody knew what they were going to announce. Presumably it was going to be this because they had already announced this anime or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like the countdown, whoever coded their website, it was like, it wasn't centralized for like Japan time. So like it ended in America and people were like, what? And there's nothing, you know, I feel like, oh, there's a problem that their timer was like,
they're like, our announcement is the number 0.
So I remember being like, I guess we're going to have to wait till Japan's countdown hits or whatever. There's been some speculation that Doom Eternal was canceled for the Switch. Some GameStop, I guess GameStop was canceling all the pre-orders that existed for the physical copies of this. And since then, Bethesda has come out and said it is digital only, which is interesting.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. Maybe because of the size, you could say is the reason they would do that, right? Because like wouldn't really fit on a card anyway. But I think the bigger question is, do you think that they're going to do a cloud release for this game similar to how they did for, Control and Hitman? And what do y'all think this means?
Did Doom Eternal for Switch get delayed a few times?
Yeah.
It was
quite. It was supposed to be a day and date release with the other versions originally.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it was supposed to be 2020. And I guess it theoretically still could, right?
I'm not counting. I'm not holding my breath for that. Yeah.
The one thing when I heard it digital only was like, oh, maybe that means it's sooner than you think, but also like maybe that means it's cloud based, like given what they've done. I don't know.
I don't think it's Cloud. I don't think it's going to be Cloud at all. I mean, Panic Button has been working on the port of this game all year, right? Like, and there's no way that if they were just setting it up in a server somewhere for it to stream, it would take a year of porting, right? So it's like, I feel like that's out of the question, right? Unless they were trying really, really hard to get the port working, they couldn't get it to work, and then they decided to say fuck it, right?
That's kind of, and like they saw that this was an option and other places were doing it, and it's like, are we going to compete? You know what I mean? Or is it going to like look so shitty compared to that option? Should we backtrack and do that?
If I will be very, very disappointed if it's a Cloud version. I think, like, not that Cloud versions are bad, not that I don't want Cloud versions of games. I think Cloud versions of games are fine. But like the original Doom port is kind of legendary at this point, right? Like for the Switch. And it's like, you know, I think I want to see what they do with this one. And even if it's not working 100%, like as with parity as the PS4 and Xbox versions, which it never would anyway, like, I think that's fine. And I'd much prefer to be able to take that game portably on the go and not have to worry about an internet connection, right? But I don't think it's going to be a Cloud version. I think the reason that it's going digital only is twofold. I think you were right on the money there, Patrick, when you said that it's probably way too big for a cartridge. It's probably over 32 gigs, and they try as they might, can't get it under that, and they don't want to spring for the 64 gig carts, money wise. And I think another reason why they don't want to spring for those big 64 gig carts is because the game has been out for almost an entire year now. You know what I mean? It came out the same day as Animal Crossing on other platforms. It's on Game Pass for free now. So anybody who has an Xbox can just get it for free. That's where I'm planning on playing it anyway. And, you know, and this Black Friday, it's going on sale for like 10, 15, 20 bucks at different retailers. So there's really no reason to release the game for, you know, 60 bucks physically right now. I think that they wouldn't sell very many copies. They probably wouldn't sell as many as they print. And then, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just, I think they saw what happened to Outer Worlds and they were like, we don't want to fuck with that. You know what I mean? Like, that should have probably just been digital only too, because they probably printed way more than they sold of that as well.
I too will be very surprised if it's a Cloud version and what that could possibly say or mean for Panic Button.
Yeah. Austin's own Panic Button, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm glad y'all are so adamant about it, but I'm not. I feel like this could mean that they've had trouble and they're doing something different. But we'll see. We'll find out eventually.
This is a shot in the dark, but you guys don't think this is related at all to Microsoft purchasing ZeniMax, do you?
I don't think so. I think, you know, they've said they want to honor all their original deals and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I also think that it would only benefit them to have gotten this out sooner, you know what I mean, and get it done.
What about the Switch 2.0?
That's the other possibility, right? And I mean, I think the Cloud thing could tie into that too, right? Or I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe they'll delay it till then.
What about 6G satellites, Patrick?
Yeah, I heard about that. Well, if there's nothing else, we should move on.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's a big topic, though.
Godspeed, Panic Button. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Please get this shit done. Yeah, you can do it.
Couple quick Nintendo lawsuit things as we kind of ease our way into the Nintendo sucks portion of this episode. Nintendo is suing. This isn't a Nintendo sucks thing necessarily. Nintendo is suing another hack seller that sells through Amazon that sell these things that, you know, USB you can plug into your Switch and then load, I guess, emulators and stuff like that. They've tried to formally do it through Amazon, but they had to actually sue them because the company's like still selling on Amazon. So there's, you know, this is like adds to the few other lawsuits we've talked about in the past that they're doing against these hacking sellers like Team Executor, like we talked about.
Right.
So there's a handful of these now, or a few of these now that are ongoing.
Yeah, it seems to all be ones that open it up to like the pirated games, right?
Yeah, I think it's like a physical device that must have it loaded on them or something. Yeah.
Right. I think that's still the ones that are causing the most issue, but either way, Yeah. I mean, it's kind of Nintendo's fault for making a system that got hacked within like 10 days of being on the market. So.
Whoops.
Yeah. This has been a consistent problem for Nintendo throughout the entirety of their lifespan.
And another Joy-Con drift class action lawsuit got filed here in the States. So I think that may be the third of those as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 3 that are happening now. So we'll all get our 10 cents someday from one of these.
I'll get my 4-pack of Red Bull.
Did you say 10 cents or 10 cents?
Yeah, I should have. I did.
We'll all get our check from 10 cents once they own our brains.
Yeah, where's that Pokemon game?
Yeah.
But so, Joy-Con drift is a problem and Nintendo hasn't really addressed it. So this kind of eases us into a bunch of news items here that really do feel kind of like, man, Nintendo out of touch.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is there's a Smash Brothers tournament at the Big House, which is like a fighting game tournament. And obviously they were doing online because of what's happening right now with COVID. And they were going to use the thing we've talked about on the podcast before, Slippy, for Melee, for Super Smash Brothers Melee, which is like a fan-developed online rollback netcode for Melee. And they were going to use that. And there's a little bit of back and forth and who you want to blame here and that kind of thing. But apparently Nintendo sent them a cease and desist. Then they are not going to have any Smash at their event now. They canceled the Ultimate thing as well.
No Smash at the Smash event, huh?
No Smash at the event, yeah. So it's canceled. So that's a bummer because like there's no way to play Melee online, like, you know what I mean, like, or like the game. There's no way to like sell like. There's arguments to be made like that. Why don't they just let them do it? You know what I mean? Like who cares? I don't know what I'm trying to say exactly. I've been reading a lot about this stuff.
I mean, it's shitty, right? And it's led to a lot of think pieces about how Nintendo, like, I don't know if you read that anonymous twit longer about
I did.
About how Nintendo has like kind of never been a real ally of the Smash community.
Right.
Which some of that read as a slightly whiny to me, but I think that it had really good points. It was really well researched. But I think I at least understand why Nintendo has slapped the C&D on this, right? It's like they've never been comfortable with Melee being as popular as it's been, right? I don't think that even Sakurai likes Melee that much. I think he, thinks that it was rushed and like not a finished game, and he much prefers Brawl or something that's more like party focused. So there's that, right? Like I don't think they even really like Melee that much. And then
there's definitely the fact that they don't like the way that competitive people play Smash, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so it's like, so there's that. But I kind of get it. It's like you cannot play online Melee without emulating it through Dolphin, basically. And so that means that you have to have a pirated copy of the game. And even if you own the copy of the game, like there's no way for Nintendo to verify that everybody in their own homes are playing with a copy of the game that they legally own. There's no like license for it. You know what I mean? So I at least understand that. Having been said, it's like read the room. You know what I mean? People aren't going to get together to play this game on TVs during a pandemic.
And you're not going to make any more or less money off of it because there's no way to buy it.
Right. So unless like Nintendo has some Melee HD with online functionality planned, which I don't think they do because I think Nintendo hates Melee.
Games like that, you don't, I don't know. It's weird to release old versions of, I mean, maybe it's not actually. There's classic Street Fighter games and stuff, but yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I'm rambling.
No, it's okay. Matt, do you have any thoughts on this? Because it is like touchy, but it's also definitely shitty.
Yeah, I think generally, I did read that really long post. It's just a hard decision to make because there's facts on both sides. But the shitty thing is that people in the community consistently, according to this one post, consistently feel like they're getting closer and closer with Nintendo when Nintendo might sponsor them, only for them to pull out or to ghost at the last second. that's the thing that's most upsetting to me, where you have other companies who really support the esports and their game. I'm thinking games like Counter-Strike or any kind of League of Legends. They have a whole business side to support the esports part of their brand. And if Nintendo would do that and like what people want, then that'd be great.
I mean, I just don't think that there's any like benefit of Nintendo doing it. And I mean, especially like we're talking like this is the year that a bunch of like pedophiles were ousted from the competitive Smash
Didn't want to
scene,
mention
you know
that.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not afraid to mention it. We should not forget that happened.
Don't.
This
100%.
year.
I think
like,
Nintendo's happy that they didn't after that happened.
Right.
But they did have Zero on their, what was it, Smash 4?
exactly. Yeah. I mean, they've got egg on their face. They had to take down a bunch of their own YouTube videos because of it. And it's like, you know, you can't blame them for wanting to distance themselves from the competitive Smash scene right now. I mean, it's like it hasn't even been a year since that happened. So it's like, you know, that's why I'm saying I can really see both sides. It's like I do think to a certain degree, like absolutely, I wish they just had more chill when it came to this and all online stuff and all esports stuff. But you know, I think they're just so protective of their image, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like really don't want to seem weak.
Overly protective, overly paternalistic about this.
I will
stuff.
agree with that.
And I think the thing I don't know if anybody's mentioned this, but this sort of longer thing that somebody wrote, they talked about how other companies have tried to get involved. You kind of both mentioned this, but Nintendo kind of actively blocked that and made it hard for them. Where, you know, Red Bull, for example, or somebody wanted to, you know, sponsor tournaments and that kind of thing.
Ninja was going to partner with Nintendo on some stuff, and he eventually backed out.
And so I think that's what's frustrating to hear. I totally understand all you know, that it's complicated, and if you read Nintendo's response to this Big House thing in particular, they're like, "Hey, we asked them to not use Slippy," and they didn't, you know, and so like that. You know, well, that's kind of, I understand how this happened then, but why did they ask him to not use it? You know, I don't know. It's complicated. We talked about it a lot. We should move on to the next shitty point soon.
We should do a whole episode on this sometime, though.
Yes, Nintendo and Smash competitive.
Nintendo and esports and why there's kind of that weird butting head thing there. Yeah.
Another sort of shitty Nintendo thing that happened was, and this is maybe more forgivable, but it's also kind of problematic, is that there were some streamers who were playing the game we're talking about today, Age of Calamity, the Hyrule Warriors game, right after it came out in like Australia and Japan and that area, and they all got like copyright takedown strikes that happened, and some of them got like temporary bans from Twitch and things because of that, even though that was out legally where they were, probably just because of a mistake, that some sort of automatic thing Nintendo was doing. But that sucks. That's the kind of thing that's like, little details like that suck. And it's another thing like Nintendo's obviously aggressively policing this kind of stuff. So that sucks. And then one last thing that I'm not happy about either is Nintendo has this like, I don't know what you call this, like a suggested use for companies for their use of Animal Crossing. Because we've talked about it. There was like I don't know, what was it, like I don't know, Arby's Island or something, or different companies have made their own islands on Animal Crossing, and Joe Biden had one, and people have used it for things like that. And some soap. yeah, that's right. It was like, oh, what was it? It was like Dove or Sherman or something. Yeah. But like, they have guidelines that they've put out for businesses and organizations. And in it, they particularly say that they like, don't want you to bring politics into the game. And it just is that same sort of paternalistic of like, you know, what are you trying to, what is this? I don't know. They just want to control everything.
Nintendo is saying don't bring politics into the game about like a landlord having a chokehold on like rent control prices, like on a fucking private island. Like, come on, man. Listen to our episode on politics and games, Nintendo. Everything is political.
Maybe people are just getting reported for it all the time and they're just sick of dealing with it.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny.
I think it was like
And
such a highlight of this year and a highlight of the campaign when like Joe Biden's campaign like used Animal Crossing as a platform. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier with the Animal Crossing and the Game of the Year discussion. It's like, that's like fucking huge. You know what I mean? Like that never happens, you know? And
yeah.
So I think it's a great thing. And I don't know. That's pretty out of touch.
I do wonder, this is pure speculation, that if this is just a kind of a company thing to do, not that they actually really care about politics in Animal Crossing, but this is to save face with other countries.
Sure.
Like China.
China.
Who are actively...
What do all our coughs sound like China?
We all got COVID. To save face with the Chinese government to get further into that market.
That makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just another, God, that sucks thing then, especially if that's the reason.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Tencent, give us game codes.
Oh, that's just my 10 cents.
There's been some rumors about the Tetris movie that Apple is allegedly producing. Matthew, I think you shared this with the group on Discord. David, are you excited about a Tetris movie? And what do we think about the director and star and that kind of stuff?
I'm excited about the Tetris movie and also a little bit heartbroken because I was writing my own Tetris script actually, and I didn't quite work fast enough and pitch it to Apple fast enough, it would seem. But I am very excited. The story of the kind of creation of Tetris, and then not only like Alexei Pajitnov creating Tetris, but then the story of Hank Rogers, who's being played by Taron Egerton in this movie, you know, going to Russia and like flying there and then having to like deal with the Kremlin and the Soviet infrastructure to like make a deal to like get the USSR to like export this game out to the West basically and the East in Japan. It's a very, very interesting story if you're into like 80s Cold War stuff and video games. So yeah, I'm very excited. The director, I haven't seen any of his movies. He did what was that movie? Something in Ollie, Stan and Ollie about Laurel and Hardy. Is that what they are? I don't know. Whoever they are.
John Baird is the guy's name.
Yeah. So I haven't seen that movie. I thought the trailer for that movie looked pretty shitty, but I don't know. I think it's hard to fuck up this story. So I remain cautiously optimistic. I think that as long as they like kind of stay true to the origins of the actual story of the creation of Tetris, I think this will be an exciting movie, and I'm very excited to see it. Whether or not they totally stole my script idea, notwithstanding.
Totally unrelated to our podcast, but it sounds like Apple is just spending lots of money making movies and stuff right now. They're dumping a bunch of money into that.
Yeah. By the way, if anybody has an Apple TV Plus subscription, hit me up. I'd love your credentials. 'Cause I'm not about to buy another streaming service.
While we're talking about sort of rumor-based things, our friend Hot Girl Videos 69 went on a tear with a bunch of specific information that I thought we should just mention real quickly, and in particular, just like dated some things. This will be interesting to see if any of this comes true. They said the Breath of the Wild sequel is coming on May 7th. They said that the Pokemon collection will have 5 games in it and is coming out around April 23rd. Pokemon Snap is coming out around April 23rd, and the collection will have like 5 games in it. And they just kind of like went off in a few days and tweeted a bunch of stuff about the Switch Pro and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know if any of this is true or matters at all to y'all, but they also said that the Advanced or Switch Pro would come out around April 23rd as well. So
yeah. We'll see. I think we've actually got in here as the next news item something that I think kind of contradicts it. It's like in the Capcom leak. Mm-hmm. This is something that was pointed out by Nate on the Nate the Hate podcast. there is no mention of any kind of Switch Pro or any kind of new Switch hardware. And they talk a lot about their plans for the next gen Series X and PS5 and stuff like that. There's no mention of a Switch Pro anywhere in there. And you think that Capcom would definitely be a company that would be privy to such information. So now I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be one at all. But next year is going to be a crazy year for Nintendo, regardless of whether or not these Hot Girl Video 69 rumors are true.
Yeah, there's going to be some big games, I think. And
it's the Zelda 35th anniversary.
That's
right.
true.
And I think
that's true.
That's the joke, right? Like, spoiler, Nintendo is making games and they will come out next year. We'll see. But
I think there's stuff that was supposed to come out this year that will be lumped into next year to make a really nice big fat year.
Cool. Well, let's talk about that Capcom leak. So it was a ton of data that's been dumped, and people have been combing through it. And so since last week when we talked about it, which again, this is a hack, I guess we should say. This is theft. So there's this weird, questionable stuff about it. Does anybody else want to list off some of the interesting stuff? I know the thing that jumped out to me was possible new Ghosts and Goblins is maybe what guillotine means.
Yeah. Before we list the games, this is just like a huge leak that shows all of Capcom's games possibly through 2023, 2024?
24, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
So that stuff is like not games that are in development yet. It's like stuff they want to maybe do if they can get around to it. Like the really late stuff, But
yeah.
I mean, we talked about some of these last week.
Yeah,
right?
we talked about what we knew, which was just guillotine, but now people think that means the Ghosts and Goblins, and I'm not sure why, what there was related to that. And I think there's some Street Fighter 6 information that was in there.
Let's I'll just go through the list. Toy tennis, toy boxing.
God damn it.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
We should go through just the highlights. We're kind of going long on news.
A Resident Evil 4 remake, a new Onimusha, a new Biohazard game, Captain Commando, Final Fight remake, Power Stone remake, Ultra Super Street Fighter 6, and Resident Evil Hank, which might be Hunk.
I also thought it was interesting that specific financial details leaked about their deals with like Stadia and that kind of stuff. If you're ever interested in how much a platform pays to get a game on there, or an example of it, like I think it was like what 10 million or something that they paid. Stadia paid Capcom to get Resident Evil 7 and 8.
God, Google money is out of this world. Yeah.
And apparently Sony paid $5 million for like a Resident Evil 7 like timed exclusivity and stuff like that. So
man, you got to see why these publishers are like, hell yeah, we love the subscription based platforms. You know what I mean? Like, because Resident Evil 7 is also on Game Pass. So it's like, what, they're just getting fucking money from all these different people without having to sell a single copy of the game. It's pretty nice. Yeah.
Is there anything else about this hack? I mean, there's actually a lot of stuff out there. If you listener are interested, you could find, but is there anything y'all want to mention?
One thing about this is that it's nowhere near over, right? Like they asked for a shit ton of Bitcoin and they didn't get it. And so they started releasing, like, I think they've released like 1/20th of the information that they actually stole. Like they stole 1 terabyte's worth of data from Capcom. So, there's a lot more where that came from. So maybe we'll hear about some Switch Pro news within that stuff.
And if you want to buy some games instead of playing them on these subscription services, there's a really good eShop sale going on right now on the Nintendo eShop. A lot of stuff is marked down. It's happening through December 2nd, so you got a little time to look it over too. Including some digital sales of first-party games that we don't always see, like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Link's Awakening, some other stuff, and a lot of good indie games. There's a lot of good Devolver digital games that are on sale. Worth checking out.
Yeah, a couple ones that I saw. Horizon Chase Turbo is only $5, which if you're into classic arcade racers, that's a really good one. Yeah, and then of course, like there's the digital eShop sale, and then there's all these retail sales as well.
Yeah.
So make sure you check out Deku Deals or the Nintendo Switch Deals subreddit and keep track, because if you're looking to fill up your backlog, now is definitely the time.
Yeah, that's right. We should mention there's obviously physical deals. Like I know Walmart and GameStop have some particular good ones for the Switch.
Mario Maker 2 for $30 at Walmart. That's such a great fucking deal.
And kind of what I alluded to earlier when we were talking about the Super Famicom is that the Super Famicom had its 30th anniversary just a few days ago on the 21st, I believe it is, which apparently is like a really big day for Nintendo history. A lot of things came out on, a lot of big things happened on November 21st, but one of which is the Super Famicom, and this is 30 years. Came out, I don't know, almost not quite a year later in the States. So it's like September or something, I think. And
also the birthday of Super Mario World.
That's right.
That was a launch game, which in my opinion is still the greatest game of all time.
There you go.
My favorite game.
Controversial. What's
Controversial.
the word?
I
can't speak.
don't think saying Super Mario World is the greatest game of all time is controversial.
It's controversial.
Controversial.
Is it?
No, never.
It's controversial.
Controversial.
No, I'm making a joke. I'm trying to make a joke.
Controversy.
Controversial.
What's a controversy? Greatest game of all time? Great.
I think it's still one of the finest games ever created. I think it's the de facto Mario game. Wait, you disagree there, Tommy?
Mario 3's got a soft spot in my heart.
Don't get me wrong, man. I love Mario 3.
Mario 3 was in Three Ninjas.
Okay.
That's two threes.
Oh, yes. That beacon of quality. Three Ninjas.
Love cult.
Clearly.
Three Ninjas kick back.
It was also in The Wizard or whatever.
Yeah, well, that movie was made for that game. But I just think like I don't get me wrong, I love Mario 3, but man, Super Mario World just took everything in Mario 3 and made it so much better and bigger, and it gave us Yoshi, and it gave us the cape, and it gave us all this shit. What a wonderful game.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Hey, Matt, go fuck yourself.
I got you going.
You're like, I only like Halo.
Well, last piece of news that'll take us into our main topic, which is that Hyrule Warriors is already the best-selling Warriors game of all time. Koei Tecmo released some numbers that I believe is only 3 days, but it's less than a week for sure. They sold 3 million copies, and that's worldwide, digital and physical.
I believe the verbiage was shipped through 3 million copies.
So maybe retailers have purchased 3 million copies.
Right.
They maybe haven't all sold yet, but
right. So I don't think that maybe this includes digital. I'm not sure, but it sounds like it's physical copies of the game.
Gotcha. When you say shipped through, I read somewhere digital and physical, but that was probably just like a comment on something.
Well, I'm hoping that it's just physical because I really don't want to eat that Game Boy Advance SP.
You marinate it, it'll be fine.
Eagle-eyed listeners of the show will know what I'm talking about.
Well, either way, it sounds like the game is on track to be very big and successful, which isn't terribly surprising based on David's gambit, as we're calling it. So we'll talk all about Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, and how it's been for us so far when we come back from a very short break. All right, so this week we are talking all about the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity game, the new Legend of Zelda game that was announced this year on September 8th and just came out November 20th, so just a few short days ago. It is a mashup of Zelda and the Dynasty Warriors games, and I think we should just owe it to our listener who may not know much about these games to just kind of briefly explain what they are. I think the first Dynasty Warriors game came out for the PlayStation, but it was like actually a fighting game. And then the first game that came to be known, when we say Warriors, came out around 2000
for the PS2.
And it's like you're just going through mobs of bad guys, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's the Japanese word for the genre is muso, and it basically means 1 versus 1,000. That's what the term means. And yeah, it's all just about like making you feel as fucking powerful as possible as you slaughter thousands of people with just one sword. Yeah.
And so, obviously, Nintendo has made a few of these games. There was another Hyrule Warriors game that came out, and there was the Fire Emblem Warriors game, and now we have this one, which is technically a prequel to the Breath of the Wild game. So it has that cross appeal going on for it. And I think we'll talk more about all that. But unless there's anything else introductory you guys think we should cover, how are we feeling about this game? Yeah, David?
Well, yeah, just a brief talk about Hyrule Warriors as a series in general. This is kind of technically the fourth Hyrule Warriors game to come out, even though it's really the second. Because there was there was Hyrule Warriors for the Wii U, which I bought that on the Wii U when it came out. And then the game was remade with a bunch of new added content on the new Nintendo 3DS. And then there was a Switch version, which was a port of the 3DS version and all its content with even more new content. So that's just kind of a history of the series. And the first Hyrule Warriors very much felt more like fan fiction, right? Like it was kind of like a mashup of a lot of different eras of Zelda and stuff like that into kind of you could call it a plot, I guess. It was a really crazy plot. Yeah. You played the original Hyrule Warriors, right, Tommy?
Yeah, absolutely. I played it on the Wii U.
Yeah. And that was a great, fun game. But this one's a bit more serious. It takes itself a little bit more seriously, I would say.
Yeah, they tried a lot harder on this one.
Yeah.
You could say.
feels more like an actual entry into the Zelda series. Yeah.
Well, I want to say they didn't make anybody up, but I'm not 100% sure on that yet. But Hyrule Warriors had some questionable characters in it for Wii U.
Well, so we were introduced to Linkle in the original Hyrule Warriors. It was like a fem Link, which has become a fan favorite character. I'd love to see her in more games, but yeah, I just figured we'd talk a little bit about Hyrule Warriors, but I'm down to just straight up talk Age of Calamity now.
Yeah, how do we feel? Sort of introductory general thoughts about the game. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you how far into it are you? That kind of thing.
So I played the demo way more than I probably should have. I decided, I'll 100% the demo because I could carry it all over, which was genius on their part. And I couldn't do it because you have to get beetles, which are a random drop from a chest. So I gave up and got him in 2 seconds when I played the real game. But I think, honestly, I picked it up and played it for like an hour when it first came out. And then the last 2 days I picked it up and like now it's going. I love this game. It's great.
Yeah, it's super fun. Matt, you've probably played the most out of any of us in this group. How are you feeling on the game?
It took a little while to warm up to it. I think, I came into it wanting to explore more of the narrative. And then it threw me into a battle where I was killing hundreds of
Bokoblins?
Yeah.
The birds.
The birds. Yeah. What's that rate?
Ritos.
Yes.
I was like, they're my friends. Why am I murdering thousands of them? Like, honestly, that was a literal thought that went through my head. That the gameplay didn't match up to the story or narrative, which is what I was expecting from Breath of the Wild, to have it all interconnected, the gameplay and story. But then I got over it, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm leveling up my guys, and they're super strong, killing instead of 100 people, 1,000 people each level, and it's super fun.
Yeah, it's definitely story wise, and I'm not nearly as far into the game as you are. I haven't been able to play quite as much as I'd like. I've also been distracted by other games, but it's not quite the straight up prequel that I thought it was going to be, right? And maybe we can save some of that for a little bit later in the episode in case people want to avoid spoilers. But I was surprised at kind of how its own story it is, while also acting as a sort of prequel to Breath of the Wild. But I will say, just like straight up, it feels good to play another Breath of the Wild game, regardless of the gameplay, right? Like the sound. The sound effects, the map, and like everything. I love the aesthetic of it. It's nice to go back to that aesthetic, I think. But Patrick, you disagree?
Well, I might be the sourest on this game of anybody of the four of us at least, and I'm still pretty early on. I have to admit that maybe I will fall more in love with it. But I think you're right. I do feel that I think it was John previously of Game Explain, who said on Twitter something like, it's weird to feel nostalgic for a 3-year-old game. But this definitely makes me feel that way of like, when you hear the sound effects and you hear, or you see even the like items and stuff like in your inventory, is like, man, this is cool. But then I can't climb up this ladder. And I can't, you know what I mean? And I can't, and I'm using the paraglider, but I can't go over these rocks. You know what I mean? And it's like,
there are invisible walls in this game. What?
There's a little bit of a disconnect happening with some of that. And I think I knew that, but it still feels weird.
Patrick, I don't know if you feel this way, but just thinking about it made me feel like, you ever go to like a grocery store and you get like Sunkiss branded peanut butter, or like Cinnabon toast. They're not actual the flavors from it. They're just representing of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that way for the first few hours of this game. It felt a little bit cheap. It was like representing the Zelda brand, but didn't represent the Zelda gameplay.
Yes. And I think maybe I'll adjust, and I have somewhat, and I think I'm not very far into this game, so maybe I do like some aspect of it. I think it's just kind of dealing with that. Like, there's a nice aspect of this game which is like, oh, this is the kind of game I can just maybe play while I watch a show. But then I do want to pay attention to the story.
Right.
So there's that weird give and take I have too.
Yeah. I keep doing that where I'm like, oh, I'll play this while I'm listening to music or a podcast or watching a show or something. But then there's like 20 minutes of cutscenes in a row.
Yeah. Wait, I care.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care about slaying all the bokoblins, but I do care about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always like caught off guard by like just how many cutscenes are in this game. Like it's really quite a bit. Yeah.
So I don't know. I do know that there's been, of course, because people don't do their research. I've seen even like on official Nintendo Facebook posts where people are like, this was a waste of money. This isn't a Zelda game. Where you're kind of like, well, they have a demo and they have the name in there. And if you've done any research, you would have known that. So I'm not mad at Nintendo.
It's not called Legend of Zelda Age of Calamity.
That's true. I have that in our show notes, but it's not. Yeah. So I think those people should do research, but I think there are I don't know what you call them, the more casual game fans that are still game fans,
plebes
that might not do their research and get thrown off by this. But that's their fault, because Nintendo did put out a demo. And I think that's the biggest thing you can say right there is there's a free demo. Go try it.
And the demo does hint at what this story is going to be.
Yeah.
You just I don't know. I'm about probably halfway through the game, I would say, and I don't know. I have my assumptions of where this game is going, and I can't necessarily say that I like it, but I'm reserving that until it's over with. What I will say, and what people have been mentioning, the worst part is just the voice acting. Some of it just does not sound like they're trying at all. The king specifically, who I have now know his name is King Rome Bosphorus Hyrule. That's canon, I guess.
Yeah.
Their last name is Hyrule. So
yeah. He does sound like Peter Dinklage in Game of Thrones to me. Like an American trying to do a British accent, but like he based it off Tyrion Lannister.
He also just sounds like he doesn't care about anything happening.
Yes. I don't know. I was going to try to do an impression. I'm not.
Princess Zelda, go train.
Yeah, well, I think this is
King Rome.
Maybe we can talk about the way they present this. There's like a narrator rather, that like, kind of introduces the scenario, and then there are these big cutscenes on either end of when you go into a level. And that's where it's cool to see this Breath of the Wild art style again. And even in the gameplay, it's cool to see it, but it's not quite as good, maybe. And maybe it's maybe the voice acting isn't quite as good. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I didn't think the voice acting in Breath of the Wild was that good either. You know what I mean? It's all the same actors.
It's just more of it.
Yeah, it's not like they recast the parts or anything. It's like, I mean, Nintendo is not. I mean, I think the game so far that Nintendo has hit out of the park as far as voice acting is concerned. Well, there's two. There's Fire Emblem Three Houses and Star Fox 64. But it's like, but other than that, like their stuff is always kind of cheesy. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's if you're somebody who watches anime dubbed, it's like you can excuse not the best voice acting in the world. You know what I mean? But
I think it's that there's so
more
much
voice
of it.
actors because they added voices to quite a few of the like ensemble cast characters without spoiling anything. And some of those are pretty good. So I don't know. Maybe they were just stuck with some of the originals and they're like, let's make the others good.
I loved when Epona was giving that monologue. That was my favorite.
I don't think she's only an amiibo, right? She's not canon to the.
Yeah.
Well, we can jump all over the place. I think one of the big draws to this game, arguably, then, is those characters, right? And is the story, not so much the gameplay, as we've just discussed. Obviously, some people must love Dynasty Warriors style, Musou style gameplay, but like the crossover here is the characters and the story, right? I'm not deep enough to know whether it's worth it or not.
I think the gameplay is actually pretty close in terms of combat. Like, you can do pretty much everything you can do. Like, if you're Link with a sword and a shield, like you got the bow and arrow, you got all his Sheikah Slate stuff, you got the rods with like lightning, frost, fire. You can, like, things are weak to certain things. Like, it follows the pattern. You can reflect, you know, the Guardian's laser beams. You can perfect parry and things like that. Like, they've got
the flurry rush and everything. Yeah,
it's almost like a beginner's guide to playing Breath of the Wild. If you played this first, you'd go into Breath of the Wild and probably kick some ass. Like, honestly.
Yeah, I do think so.
I didn't want to say the gameplay is bad, but I just think that's maybe not the draw. In fact, I was kind of surprised at first playing as Link how much I liked the gameplay. I don't know that I liked some of the other characters as much. Maybe because it feels new.
Link is like my least favorite character, honestly, out of the ones that I played so far, and I haven't unlocked that many.
Yeah,
but like,
he's the one that has like multiple different weapons, though.
That's true. And that varies up the style quite a bit. But I found myself loving Impa right away. Right,
Impa's cool.
Yeah, just being, you know, it's like 1 versus 1,000, but with Impa, it's really like 6 versus 1,000 because you're really playing as like many characters all at once, and just the way that Impa moves is so fluid. And I just like that all the characters are very different, and I like that each because everybody has the Sheikah Slate abilities that they can use, and I like that each character uses those abilities differently. Like, I feel like that would get real boring real quick if everybody just like threw a bomb. But it's like Zelda has the fucking like remote sentry bomb that goes out and attacks, and then Link is throwing like a shit ton all at once, and Impa's got her own different thing. So I really like that implementation into the combat.
With the risk of this maybe being a spoiler question for people who don't want to know about all the unlockable characters, Matt, as the farthest along, who's your favorite character to play as?
I would say Link is my favorite character to play. Yeah, it's like Link, Zelda, and then probably a close third is Mipha.
I have to say that I'm disappointed to hear that because I kind of feel like this early on, Link is my favorite character to play as, and I'm a little, it's like maybe I'll find somebody who I really, jive with, but
Link is up there for me. His like normal weapons, but Rivali is probably my favorite. He has 2 different fighting stances.
Oh, okay.
So he has different combos if he's on the ground versus if he's flying.
Right.
And it gets pretty crazy, the stuff that he can do. And for example, he can shoot like a Hinox in the eye because he can fly in the air. So it's like way easier for him to do something like that. But yeah, I'd suggest trying him out. He's just insane to watch. Just go.
What about you, David? Are you liking playing as Impa mostly, or?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, and I haven't even unlocked all the Guardians yet myself. So it's like I haven't played as Mipha personally, but yeah, I'm really enjoying Impa a lot. I just like the ninja style, like quick movement, and like I said, the kind of the mirroring of yourself to kind of, and the injecting of souls. Like, it's such a unique strange fighting style.
She's really fun too.
Yeah, and it took me a while to understand actually what I was doing as Impa. You know what I mean? Like, because at first I'm just kind of mashing buttons, and then it's like once I got the flow of the combat with Impa down, I was like, oh hell yeah! And I found myself just playing as her the majority of the matches, even when I could switch back and forth between characters.
So, who's everyone's least favorite character?
Before we go, I was going to say something about Impa.
Oh sure,
is that Impa? While she's not the most efficient character to play as, she is the most fun, even in late game.
She's like the flashiest, I feel.
Yeah, it's still fun. I still love playing as Impa, even though I can't kill as many people quickly.
Yeah, I think she's focused on like single target, so she's really good against like bosses and things like that. But when it comes to clearing like mobs, you can just switch to somebody else in your party.
That makes sense.
To answer your question, though, Tommy, I'd say probably my least favorite that I've played as right now is Urbosa, unfortunately. I just find a lot of her electric attacks, they don't chain super well together. And maybe I'm just not good at using them yet, but it's like she feels kind of the clunkiest out of all the characters to me so far. Like, I think her range with her actual weapon is so short, and then I just haven't been able to really get into the flow of her electrical attacks. So that's been kind of a bummer for me.
And everybody has that unique, ZR right trigger move, and hers is just kind of boring. Stacking more electricity.
She's kind of overpowered if you like keep her charged up, because you can do it like mid attack. So if you like start spamming that in the middle of a group of people, I think she's the most effective at just killing trash.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does get a little stale, but maybe when she gets more combo moves, she gets better.
Right. Yeah, I definitely need to play a whole lot more. But yeah.
I think Zelda Hyrule is the clunkiest.
I was going to say Zelda might be my least favorite, but Matt, you said you liked her.
Yeah, Zelda, like in the first half of the game, isn't that fun to play, but once you unlock some of the bonus combos, she does a lot of damage.
Yeah. She's a pretty hard one to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not actually physically hitting anybody.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange, but
all
it's
her
really
moves
creative.
Are Sheikah Slate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Her Sheikah Slate is there too. That's all she does.
Well, she's wisdom, right?
Yeah.
She's the Triforce of wisdom.
Matt, do you have a least favorite character? Is there somebody you've kind of ignored?
I would probably say Urbosa.
Yeah.
I liked Urbosa on the first couple of matches that I played with her, but I just couldn't get used to the electric special.
Yeah. I just feel like I keep whiffing it, so maybe I just need to get good.
There's some other characters that you unlock as you go, and some of those are also my least favorite. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you not spoiling too many of those.
The next one you get after chapter 2 is on the level of Tingle, I would say.
Yeah.
He's the new Tingle, or she, whichever. I'm honestly not quite sure, but that doesn't matter.
Not exactly a playable character, but we got to talk about the little guardian, the R2D2 unit that is a complete
total
ripoff.
R2D2 ripoff.
R2D2. These sounds are exactly like R2D2. The size, the look, everything.
This has nothing to do with necessarily the gameplay or that story of the character, but did you know you can move the little guardian in the loading screen?
Oh no, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, L and R can move left and right.
Well, that'll make the very long load times a little quicker, I suppose.
Especially if you've been playing those new consoles, right?
Yeah, totally. I've been playing the Xbox Series S so much, and I'm like, oh man, going back to Switch games now is actually pretty rough as far as load times are concerned. But I do like the character. I mean, I'm a sucker for cute little, all the new droids from like the sequel movies, like Dio and BB-8. Like I loved all those, you know what I mean? And so I'm a total sucker for that kind of stuff. I don't really care that it's derivative of R2D2. I think it's finally the Zelda series has its own R2D2. That's something important.
Well, if you were paying attention in the demo, there's also an evil version of that same robot.
That's true.
You see a second of it.
Yeah, that's true.
There was an evil BB-8 too.
You're right. Yeah.
What do you like? Without maybe, I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the because this happens at the very beginning. I don't know is there a name for this guardian? The little guardian,
baby guardian. I don't know.
That they're
BG.
time traveling, and so it kind of opens up time travel to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Series, which I know there's been a lot of speculation that the sequel might deal with, and maybe we can save that for the end. But yeah, so the little guardian's cute. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I won't lie. Whenever I fired up the demo for the first time and the opening cinematic started, and it started with him going into the past, I was like a little disappointed. You know what I mean? Because to me, I was like, oh, okay, this will be like the story of what we saw leading up to it. But it's really kind of this, alternate kind of split, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think that that's a little bit of a whiff, but at the same time, I do like that this new character that they've created with this little guardian is kind of like the star of the show and sort of the main character.
Right.
And it makes it its own thing, which is good. When, if it was a Breath of the Wild style game, then I would be really upset if it was like a time travel mechanic and it was like this alternate timeline or whatever. But it's like, I think that because it's its own thing, I like that they're doing something different.
It immediately makes you think, oh, no one's gonna die. Everyone died in the original game. Now they're not.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Time will tell on
haven't
that
beaten that game
I
yet.
don't know. That's my guess.
I have no idea.
Hey, you totally know.
I don't. I have no idea. I haven't beat it yet.
Okay.
Well, one question
This
I
isn't
have.
a full-throated review.
One question I have for all y'all is: Are y'all playing on what? Did y'all bump the difficulty up or down? Because it's got 5 levels of difficulty: easy, normal, hard, and very hard. Is that 5? Is that just 4?
I'm all normal, baby.
I think I started it on normal in the demo, so it's still there. I'm not sure if I regret that or not.
Yeah, I'm playing on normal, and I'm finding it difficult enough. I like Warriors games and Muso games. Like I played the original Dynasty Warriors and its sequels on the PlayStation 2, and so I'm used to these styles of games. But I still die. It's like I've failed missions playing on normal. But I also I don't need this game. I don't want to. Like when I die, like it sucks.
Yeah.
And it's like. I wish that I didn't die because now I'm having to replay this thing. But I think at normal, it's the right balance where it's like, it makes me want to try to do everything correct because then, I know if I do everything well, then I'll win.
Yeah.
It's not so hard that it's not like a Souls type game,
No, you don't want to play a 30-minute level and then die at the very end and have to do it again.
Yeah.
So that doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't. And I did that. I bumped it up to hard because I felt like it was too easy. And I got to the end and all my characters got down to low health. And I was like, what do I do now? You know what I mean? Like,
you got to eat some apples, Patrick.
Yeah, well, I did. And then they're gone. And now what do? I hunt the map for apples. And this isn't fun. You know what I mean? Like for any apples I may have missed. But I didn't miss any.
Speaking of hunting,
go ahead.
What do you think about hunting the Koroks in this game?
Oh, yeah. I've only just accidentally come across them. Are there a ton of them and I'm missing them?
I find myself scouring. I think I have around 30.
Oh, wow.
And I'm in chapter 4. And I know there's probably twice as many.
I think that I've heard that there's 133.
It's a real specific number.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but that's a number that for some reason is in my head that I think I read somewhere.
I don't know that there was much benefit to finding them in Breath of the Wild. Obviously you get but is there any benefit? What is the Korok seeds?
There's a benefit to them, but I won't say what it is because that kind of gives stuff away.
Okay.
Good.
Fair enough.
I think we're doing a great job of dancing around spoilers. I'll say that.
Excellent work. Then maybe I will start paying more attention to them. I've just gotten a few by accident.
It did take me a long time to get some of the balloon Korok seeds.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I had to look it up. I was just kept on shooting it with my arrows and hitting it with my sword. But then realized you could just use freeze time and you can hit it.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. That's also like the Sheikah Slate stuff is really cool because you can really combo into people by doing that kind of thing. Because you could basically chain together a combo, hit them with like a fire rod or something, and then freeze them in time and continue to hit them like that whole way through.
Yeah,
and then do your like a combo at the end of it, and you can just one shot somebody before they do anything. It's super satisfying.
Yeah, that's nice.
Well, we talked about a lot of the aspects of the game. Maybe I was kind of wondering about like music. Do you guys like the music in this game? David, I feel like you said turned it down and put some different music on, but
well, that I did that mainly because Sasha was playing some music and I didn't want to stop playing the game. I didn't want the songs to clash. But I think the music's pretty good. I think like the menu theme, whenever you're on the tower, it gets really repetitive really quickly. And I wish that was different, but I think, it's like, I think that it's got the soul of the Breath of the Wild soundtrack, right? It's like got the kind of all the same instrumentation, the same kind of orchestral elements and stuff like that. A lot of the sort of, like the jazzier, like piano stuff, like, but it's all that then like turned to a 10, which it should be with this kind of game.
It's missing the subtlety, but the game is definitely missing the subtlety.
Yeah, it's not little plinky piano bits as you're riding off into the night. Like it's definitely a little bit more hardcore. I think the Nintendo Life review of this game said that this game was basically, the Gerudo Valley song, like from N64. This game is like 100% Gerudo Valley song the entire time through, and that's not necessarily just the music; it's just the game in general. That's
like not really necessarily
high
bad
energy.
Yeah,
no,
that's
the Gerudo Valley song is awesome. Yeah.
It's one of the greatest.
But yeah, so it's like it definitely works with what's happening in the game, and I'm a big fan of it. Yeah, I'm not gonna be like going to bed to it anytime soon.
I would say Gerudo Valley is the best Legend of Zelda song.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely up there. It's definitely in my top 3. I would say.
Okay,
it's up there. Yeah,
I'm just trying to start controversy.
You are
in this episode.
I'd say Fairy Fountain. Fairy Fountain is up there as well. Obviously,
I really like Telltale Heights.
Telltale Heights is great.
The Hateno Village. That's a good one for me.
Yo, this episode has changed. It's a Zelda music episode now.
Well, bringing it back to Hyrule Warriors, then what about like just like the visuals of the game? It's kind of weird because I feel like it's not quite as pretty as Breath of the Wild, and like things don't load as fast and stuff, but it's very similar. So it's that same sort of like. It kind of scratches the itch and makes me nostalgic for it, but it also kind of makes me feel like that grass just loaded when I was like right next to it.
Yeah, I don't recommend playing it co-op then, if that's what you feel, because I have a bit, and it definitely goes down in quality, noticeably so.
I would say in handheld mode as well. Honestly,
that
like
be,
the game is certainly playable in handheld mode. I haven't seen too much performance dip in handheld mode, although there are performance dips throughout the game, just generally. But I will say that the game definitely has that smeared Vaseline look when you play it in handheld. It's definitely not as pretty as when you play in full screen.
Tommy, can you talk about the co-op then? Because I haven't played it in co-op at all.
So you can just go in and out of it freely from the menu. So if you're on the map, you can have a friend jump in or out. As long as you're like doing that, but you can't, if they leave like during a match, you can't boot them out of it. So they're in it for that match. And that happened on a level where I was playing, and then it's in the second chapter, so it's not really a spoiler. You get to use the divine beasts, and in one of the levels it cues you into that afterwards, and only you can do it. So the second player just kind of sits there, and I took it home. I was like, all right, I'll just dip out. I was over at a friend's, and I jumped back in, and it made me, register another controller, even though I was playing a one player level. So that was weird, but otherwise it's really fun to play with somebody else and coordinate it. If you know how to like kind of move your characters around in Hyrule Warriors, like you can set them to go to different places on the map, which is something I never did on the Hyrule Warriors 1 game, and now I'm doing this, and it's infinitely faster. You can just teleport between people going to different places, and when you have another person that's also like going to other places, and then you meet up at the end and just like one shot a boss, it feels real good.
And that's something that they even added into the single player that wasn't in the original Hyrule Warriors, which is like kind of commanding where people go. which is something that I think started in Fire Emblem Warriors, kind of that more like strategic element. They've been putting that into all the. I think the Switch version maybe brought that back into it as well of the original Hyrule Warriors, but that's a great part of it. I will say with the co-op though, it's definitely like the game just becomes twice as easy, right? It's like it's like it doesn't scale. So it's like if you're going to be playing with multiple people that like can hold their own, you might want to bump up that difficulty a little bit because it's like it's not like the enemies have twice as much damage now. It's like the game is just twice as easy with twice as many people. If
you're going for like speed runs or something, that's probably where you bring in the second person.
Totally.
And you just clear it really fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, same difficulty.
And no online co-op, which is a bit of a bummer in the current climate.
Yeah.
But also my one big criticism of this game kind of ties into that, which is some of these I think the game calls them scenarios. That's why I'm using that term, where you play a level or whatever you want to call it, are long and they have long cutscenes. And then I guess this is a bit of a spoiler, so skip ahead, but like the ones where you get the champions or the guardians or whatever they're called, you then get do a Divine Beast segment, and there's no save point between all of this. I've been playing this on my regular Switch, so I had to just give up and restart one because
that's not a frequent thing though. That's like a one and done on two of them.
Most
of those are separate levels.
I wish that you could. I see what you're saying. I wish you could save anywhere in this game because this is the Switch, and I want to play for 10 minutes. And a lot of these bigger levels, at least some of them, that I'm pretty early on the game. Maybe they're smaller later, but they're 30-minute or 20-minute, depending on if you want to do everything, if you want to take your time, that kind of a thing.
A pick up and play game. This really is not.
No.
I'll say the exception to that is like because I recently brought my cat to the vet. He's doing fine, by the way. Thank you for your concern. But I brought him to the vet, and it's they're doing curbside, so it's like you drop the cat off, and they go in there, and then you just kind of sit in the car and wait for them to bring the cat back out to you, right?
Right.
And then they pump him with God knows what experimental drugs.
What vet are you going to?
More like curbside.
Yeah. Oh no. Anyway, listen, this is beside the point. What I'm saying is I brought my Switch with me to play some Age of Calamity in the car while I was waiting, and I think I got through like one like really quick side quest by the time they were done, because like even those are still like decently long, you know what I mean? And so what I'm saying is it's not like a real Switch game like you would think of it. It's not like a Hades or something like that where you drop in and drop out and whatever and blah 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 blah. And obviously you could put it into sleep mode, you know what I mean? And
if you were going back and playing some of the lower level stuff as a higher level, you could clear it in like 2 or 3 minutes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like if you were just trying to get materials or something.
Right.
But you can even buy those from multiple different shops that they continue to add through the game, which is another like nostalgic thing of Breath of the Wild, even though it is 3 years old. But they pretty much have every item in the game in Age of Calamity, which is pretty cool.
But like as somebody who shares their Switch with their kid, like I can't just put it into sleep mode. And I have a second Switch for this, and I didn't play it on that because I'd heard I should play it on the TV. And now I think I might switch to the Switch Lite for this reason, because it's like I'm not going to be able to do these.
Did you play it? Are you playing it on your profile on your Switch?
Yes, so I can transfer
you can
saves
cloud
and
save.
stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just anyway. It's just I also have died in the game, and you can retry from certain places, so they can do a save state. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe it's a lot of resources they don't want to put to this, but it just kind of frustrated me when I was
think
like,
it's just that the matches are so, and I say matches, but scenarios are so much happens in them, and there are so many different armies and bases and all these different things everywhere that I think like picking it back up halfway through later, I would just be confused. I would want to start over again anyway. I think that might be part of the reason. It's
just it's just weird for the Switch where it doesn't have that bite-sized element to it. But
totally,
that's my biggest criticism of the game. Well, as we presumably wrap up this discussion, anything we missed or anything you want to talk about that this could mean for Breath of the Wild sequel or any, is it just fun to come back to this world? What are y'all excited for that? Is it?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see where they're going with this. I haven't beaten the game. None of us have yet. So it's all speculation, but also as a Hyrule Warriors game, they had lots of DLC. So it's kind of like, where are they going to take this? Is the story actually done when you beat the game, or is it going to keep going and kind of sift its way through Breath of the Wild 2? And then maybe DLC comes after that game. It's kind of hard to say what they're going to do with it. But it's exciting to see that they're fleshing out all the characters in this game at least a little bit, because I have a feeling we're going to see them again in Breath of the Wild 2, and they're going to just kind of expand on it. I don't think they're going to create too many more new characters for Breath of the Wild 2. I think they're going to figure out a way to bring them all back. That's kind of, they're familiar. They already have amiibos. Why make more?
They're re-releasing the amiibos.
Yeah.
So expect to see these characters back somehow.
Time travel. That's how.
Yeah, I mean, we've already gotten time travel Zelda games. I'll accept it. Whatever.
Matt?
That means Linkle is canon because of time travel.
Yeah.
I think we already talked about the Divine Beasts a little bit, but the quality in Divine Beasts is it's just laughable. It's fun to destroy, thousands of people, especially when the objective Urbosa's Divine Beasts. It's like kill 20,000 people, something ridiculous. But the quality,
that's a genocide at that point.
Yeah, this game feels like a genocide. I remember people joked about Breath of the Wild, like I'm going on a genocide of Bokoblins. No, in Hyrule Warriors, you are.
Truly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Matt.
Just a sword.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they're just sitting there too. They're like not attacking you. You run up on them and they're just sitting there and you're like, I'm going to kill every single one of you motherfuckers.
Yeah, and then there's like 200 tiny little sprites that like fly up into the air. And then the spawning system, they just appear again behind you and you just kill them. Again. It's so silly. It makes you feel really strong, but it's also so silly when I think about it.
Oh, totally. I mean, I wish that they could have done something with making this game a continuous open world. You know what I mean? I understand why they didn't. They already put in like a ton of work to make this fit into the Breath of the Wild canon. You know what I mean? And that's really just something, that's a wish list thing, right? And it's like, but then at that point, it's like, would you even want to play the Warrior style stuff like when it is open world? And then wouldn't that just be Breath of the Wild again, but with more enemies? So I understand why they did it this way, but I'd say really this game, while I'm enjoying it very much and I will complete this game, I'm looking forward to playing a lot more of it. Really just makes me want Breath of the Wild 2 that much more. You know what I mean? It's like you said, it's a nostalgia for a 3-year-old game, and it's like, and it's wild, but like everybody thinks that. I feel like anybody who plays this would agree, and like that just shows how powerful of an experience Breath of the Wild was. And I just hope that Breath of the Wild 2 is able to, now that we've been in this Hyrule twice over, essentially, with Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity, I really hope Breath of the Wild 2 does something more than just us exploring the same Hyrule again.
Give us the dungeons back.
Dungeons back, and then some dark Hyrule or whatever.
Ganondorf.
The cloud world.
There's a lot they could do with it. But it just makes me want more Breath of the Wild.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll stop there and we'll take a brief break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the other games we've been playing recently. Obviously, we've all been playing Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, but I haven't played anything new that I haven't talked about on the podcast, but a couple quick anecdotes about games I've been playing. Pikmin 3, we have gotten a medal at least on everything in the game.
Nice.
Over here, and we played some bingo battle, and my kid is just obsessed with trying to fuck with me and not beating me, and so that has lost its charm too, because I just whip his butt and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you just getting the cherries? He's like, it's funny. And he did kill all of my Pikmin except one the other day, but I still won because I was like, I'm just gonna go breed more Pikmin anyway.
Yo, that is big dick move right there.
But he was holding his own on these bingo battles at first, and then he just now he just wants to mess with me. So that was funny. And then also talking about my kid and him fucking with me. I got back into Animal Crossing and nobody in my family's really been playing it. And then he picked it up one night because he saw me playing it and got interested and came in and tore up the island with the designer. And I was just like, oh, it's all right. But like, this is, now I have more Zen work to do, I guess. So it's we're having fun over here.
Yeah. I'll go next. I mean, obviously been playing some Age of Calamity. Haven't been playing Picross S5 yet because it's not goddamn out. I thought it was out today. It's out Thursday. I'll play that then. Been playing some Jackbox games, and some Drawful, and stuff like that.
Which
recently.
party pack you been playing?
I've been playing. We played some of Party Pack 2 and Party Pack 3. Just having some fun with some of that. Not a ton of that, but a little bit. And then in addition to that, I picked back up. So I watched The Queen's Gambit on Netflix recently, which is an excellent show. At first, I really didn't like it. I thought the first episode was kind of boring and pretty bad, but then it got a lot better the more I got into it, and it really made me want to play more chess. So, fired up Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics again. Been playing some chess with Sasha. She beat me a couple times. And then we also bought an actual physical chessboard. And I've been going on bike rides and going out to parks and playing chess outside. It's been really fun. So I've been playing some games that aren't video games there. And then Matt, you'll enjoy this. I've been playing a lot of the Halo Master Chief Collection on my Xbox Series S. I haven't played a Halo game in like 10 years. So really, I haven't played a Halo game since Halo 3. And so I've been playing some online, mainly playing like Halo 2 and 3 matches online. But then I've been going back and I'm now on like Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition, playing through the campaign of the first Halo game. And I'm getting totally sucked back into that world again. And it's making me basically I'm going to be playing through all the campaigns. I think like there's so much fun, and having them all in one package in the Master Chief Collection is really nice.
Guess what? The Halo franchise is all about politics. It's all political intrigue. It's all of it.
Arbiter. That's how I learned the word arbiter, was Halo 3. But yeah, so I've been really enjoying that. I've been getting kind of back into the Halo canon, and it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to playing a lot of games on my Series S. Honestly, I skipped the last generation of Xbox. I've got a lot of catching up to do with Microsoft games. Let's see, Matt, what have you been playing?
Yo, I am nonstop on Age of Calamity. There's so much content. We didn't talk about this in the main episode, but there's so many unlockables.
Yeah.
Generally, I really have enjoyed playing it, and very surprised of some of the characters that you unlock. Very fun surprises that I was not expecting. So that's been great. Also been picked up oh my God, I can't think of it. Apex Legends. The new season came out. I almost said League of Legends, but I don't play that shit. But Apex Legends, played with some friends, and I am bad at the game.
I downloaded that too for the first time, but I haven't really played it yet.
It's good.
I had to clear off a bunch of space off my Series S in order to download it, and then I haven't played it yet.
Did you download a bunch of like 360 games to like play, like Fable 1?
Oh yeah, and then I had to plug in a hard drive into the back of my Series S, and now I'm playing all those 360 games on that.
I love it. That's
yeah,
great.
like EA Play, like having EA Play on Game Pass is like great. Playing all those old EA games like Dead Space and shit like that.
Yeah, so many good games. So many good games right now, y'all. It's crazy. Tommy, what about you? What have you been playing?
So, of course, Zelda. I play Zelda all the time, but Age of Calamity, I agree with. Like, there's so much content now that I started playing it. My eyes just like got huge when I got to chapter 3. It was like, oh wow, this is getting bigger and bigger. I was kind of surprised. I thought it would be kind of more streamlined, and it's not if you play all the side stuff. The Smash Brothers, of course, I play that all the time. Me and my buddy Jeff. I don't really hang out with anybody, but me and him do some skit stuff. So we'll play games every once in a while. And Smash Brothers is generally our go-to. We'll play co-op together online. And that is quite the experience, to say the least. It's a grab bag of opponents. You never know what you're gonna 3-stock somebody, or you're gonna get 3-stocked. And it could be the most fun you ever had, or the least. But we've been working on the 2 Wii Fit trainers and just getting in there, double Wii Fit trainer, and just showing people how to work out.
That's great.
Losing a lot. We lose all the time.
I love playing co-op. I missed that in the pandemic. I used to do that a lot with my cousin, and we would play co-op a lot. It is fun because you totally will because I don't know there's no matchmaking, I guess, right? Like you'll just get matched up against somebody that's like 2 kids or something.
I don't know if there's any formula
or one person that like owns the game and their friend who's never played it before and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crap
and then
shoot.
you get 2 people who are gods and you're just destroyed.
Also, Day of Reckoning for GameCube is the other game we play all the time. I think that's the greatest wrestling game ever created. I know it's controversial, but people that also did No Mercy worked on this game. If that puts it in perspective, this is like the GameCube upgraded version of, basically, if you wanted to play No Mercy on GameCube, pick up Day of Reckoning 1. It's a phenomenal game. It might not handle a Hell in a Cell 4-player match very well, but it's worth it.
Is that that a Ukes game?
I believe so. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Nice. Okay.
There's a sequel, but I don't think it's as good. But Day of Reckoning, I stand by. I've been playing that game for like 20 years. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I made all my friends in high school on that, so some of them are still around on there, and it's like a huge throwback. Now we just make a bunch of hillbillies, but whatever you want.
I love. Thank you for that recommendation. I never even knew that existed on the GameCube, because there are some weekends that'll be like, man, I wish there was a good wrestling game that's like No Mercy or WCW versus NWO World Tour.
Oh, it's so underrated. It's I can't believe it's not like number 1 or 2 on like, if you just want to play like the counter mechanics of No Mercy, but like amped up a little bit, this game is amazing. Like you can do some crazy one-on-one stuff, or just hilarious. You can throw someone through a Hell in a Cell. You can't do that in No Mercy. So that in itself, the Royal Rumble's not good, but everything else about it is pretty much perfect.
Yeah,
nice.
Great.
Well, I'm looking forward to the 2 of you's new wrestling podcast.
Hey, sign me up, man.
It's called Day of Reckoning. It's not that clever.
AEW is coming out with the wrestling game.
Yeah, I was going to say, that AEW game is looking like old school wrestling game right there. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, they got the guy that made No Mercy, so
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. I think that does it for the episode then. Thank you so much, Tommy Green, for coming on and talking to us about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. If you want to find me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
Hey, I'm on Twitter, Matthew, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Tommy? Where can people find you online?
You can find my sketch comedy at Backyard Boys TV on Instagram, or backyardboystv.com. Or if you just want to find me, I'm Muskrat Wombat Swamp Cat on Instagram.
That's one hell of a goddamn name there, Tommy. Yeah. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to today's episode on Age of Calamity. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter. We are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. As a reminder, you can always join our Facebook group, which is Switch Headz, all caps. It's kind of our message board. And then you can join our chat room, which is our Discord. We'll have links to both of those in the description of this video or audio. I mean, who knows how you listen to podcasts these days? I'm not your fucking dad. I don't tell you what to do.
Or mom.
Or mom. I'm not anyone's
or guardian.
I'm my cat's dad. I'll tell you that. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you so much. Thank you for listening to this episode. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode of Super Switch Headz. I'm very excited about the topic because we definitely know what it's going to be. And other than that, stay safe out there. It's Thanksgiving this week, so I hope all of you have a very safe Thanksgiving. If you're thinking about going home, maybe reconsider. Let's try to keep the numbers as down as possible, because we know they're going to spike up after the holiday season. Other than that, stay safe. We love you very much. Wash your hands. Be a mensch. Bye-bye.